Welcome to Wrestler of the Week, Week 21. It pretty much works like this. If you are a professional wrestler and you made the most impact over the past 7 days, you will be named Wrestler of the Week. Every week, points will be tabulated, and whoever has the most points at the end of the calendar year will be named male and female Wrestler of the Year. If you want to see what I use as criteria for Wrestler of the Week, check out my Week 1 episode. We are in the aftermath of AEW Forbidden Door, and that means we have new champs solidifying their title reigns, hot angles, and advancement on some of the most intriguing storylines in the industry. So let's just get into it. First, the women and some honorable mentions. Saya Cmll would defend her Stardom high-speed title against Fujin Death. Sol Ruka would defeat Ariana Grace on NXT and is now the #1 contender to Kalani Jordan's NXT Women's North American title. Taya Valkyrie would take down Trish Adora, and we may be seeing Valkyrie being built up for a potential title match down the road in Ring of Honor. Queen Amanita would beat Sky Blue in a good match on AEW Rampage, and I feel she is being heated up for a potential title match in Ring of Honor as well. Rina and Nanami would fight to a time limit draw, battling over Rina's Future of Stardom title. Mina Shirakawa would be all over AEW television leading up to her match with Timeless Toni Storm at Forbidden Door, and even though she lost the match, she still made up with everyone and we got a happy ending. Serena Deeb and Riho came face to face on AEW Dynamite, and we may have a nice lower tier women's feud. Hikaru Shida would advance in the Owen Hart Cup by defeating Deonna Purrazzo. And finally, Damage Control would ruin the Unholy Union's WWE Women's Tag Title defense on Raw by attacking them, and we have a new feud brewing for the tag straps. And now the top 10 wrestlers of the week for the women. We kick off the list with a trio of ladies who all qualified for Money in the Bank. On Monday Night Raw, Lyra Valkyria would defeat Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler in a triple threat match to advance. On SmackDown, Tiffany Stratton would defeat Jade Cargill and Candice LeRae, while Naomi would best Blair Davenport and Indy Hartwell. While Lyra and Naomi qualified aren't exactly shockers, the real wrinkle is that Jade Cargill won't be in the Money in the Bank match for the women. Now, Tiffany Stratton has been my choice to win the whole thing, but I expected Jade to be in the match, unless there will be some last chance match of some sort. But Lyra, Naomi, and Tiffany join Io Sky, Chelsea Green, and one more to be determined, and I am certain this match will be madness. This was a great week for the ladies to heat them up in preparations for the big match in Toronto. Lyra Valkyria, Tiffany Stratton, and Naomi start off the list at number 10 for the women. Billie Starkz, one of the hardest working performers in all of wrestling and the Ring of Honor Women's Television champ, lands on the list at number 9. This past week on Ring of Honor Television, she would defeat Angelica Risk in a very good Proving Ground match, and Starkz continues to be one of the most prolific performers in the business. She is 26-5 this year, appearing for at least 10 promotions all year. I can't believe she is 19 years old. This is someone who really wants it, and when the time comes for her to level up, she will probably have years before she reaches her final form, but she will be seasoned enough that she will be trusted with major storylines. I am totally impressed with everything Billie does, and another one of her good Proving Ground match wins lands her this week at number 9. The Prodigy and NXT Women's Champ Roxanne Perez arrives at number 8 for the women, and she was fairly busy on NXT. First, she basically antagonized the entire women's locker room, triggering a confrontation between Perez and Carmen Petrovic. This led to the two having a pretty good, if albeit short match that for the most part Roxy dominated, even though Petrovic showed some flashes. Post-match, Lola Vice confronted the NXT champ that escalated to physicality in a heartbeat, concluding with Lola knocking Perez out and walking out with her title. That's not Moxie to Roxy. She would receive her title back and would blame Ava for the whole thing. Roxanne Perez was all over this episode, and if there is any doubt that the Prodigy is incapable of carrying a show on her own with multiple segments, I think those doubts have subsided. Roxy is an interesting, cunning character who makes up for her size with a level of tenacity and intensity that few grapplers are really able to tap into. Perez is one of my favorite performers working today, and I can't wait for the day she appears on the main roster. Shit will get real. This week, the NXT Women's Champ Roxanne Perez lands on the list at number 8. The WWE Women's Tag Champs, the Unholy Union, Alba Fire, and Ilsa Dawn find themselves in the number 7 spot this week as they retain their titles on Raw against Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, before being blindsided by Damage Control, who I assume will be challenging next for the titles, lest they feel the wrath of Io Sky. This was a first good defense for the team, who shockingly won the tag straps at Clash at the Castle. I, personally, am still in shock from the whole thing, to be honest, but I no less love this team, and I am glad they have gotten their flowers after what I was personally thinking they were going to get lost in the shuffle. Both performers are way too talented not to be featured, so I am more than stoked that we got our witchy duo as champs, and I am sure the match they have with Damage Control will rock. Grab your Necronomicons and celebrate. The Unholy Union, the WWE Women's Tag Champs of Alba Fire and Ilsa Dawn, are our number 7 female wrestlers of the week. We have new Goddess of Stardom Women's Tag Champs, and that is the team of God's Eye, Konomi and Syuri, who at the June 29 Stardom event defeated Stars, Hazuki, and Kaguma to win the titles. The match ended on a TKO when Konami applied a body choke at Hazuki, ending Stars' 55-day reign. The Goddess of Stardom Championship isn't really known for having the longest reign, but this win with the mentor and pupil feels semi-important. Now it's on to see who will challenge this new set of champions. It could be any combination of the God's Eye stable to hold on to the gold. Stars may want an immediate rematch, or any team in Stardom can step up. This is one of the divisions in wrestling that is wide open with the frequency of title changes, but I like God's Eye a lot. Maybe it has to do with my bias towards the faction itself, but I am perfectly fine with Konomi and Syuri having a healthy title run. God's Eye, the new Goddess of Stardom Women's Tag Champs, arrived this week for the women at number 6. AEW Women's Champ Timeless Toni Storm successfully defended her AEW Women's title at AEW Forbidden Door, and that lands her at number 5 this week. She and Mina Shirakawa duked it out with Mariah May in a neutral corner. At the end, it took a Storm Zero to take Mina out and retain her title, but the main occurrence happened after the match as Toni, Mariah, and Mina would make up and share a 3-way kiss. So it looks like everything is tight in the Storm household as she continues to stay at the top of the women's division in AEW. What will her next challenge be? The winner of the Owen Cup? Will someone make their presence felt on Dynamite? The future holds the cards, but we have a reigning and defending AEW Women's Champ in Timeless Toni Storm, who lands at number 5 this week for the win. One of the most shocking wins happened this past week when Wwe Aew Tna defeated Saru Anu in a great back-and-forth match for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, and that has her at number 4 for the women. The current Sendai Girls World Champion ended Anu's reign at 176 days, and Iwata is now a double champ who has been Sendai champ for 273 days and counting. Iwata will have her first Wonder of Stardom title defense at Sendai Girls Karuken on July 15th, and I think fans are scrambling, as I don't think anyone really had Anu losing the Wonder of Stardom title in such a sudden manner. I am not sure if this is meant to open Anu up as a potential challenger for Micah's World of Stardom title or what, but this feels like something major has happened, and it may be the first domino to fall. What an upset. We have a new Wonder of Stardom champion, and that is Wwe Aew Tna, who lands at number 4 this week for the win. The dastardly, evil, and manipulative WWE Women's World Champ Liv Morgan comes in at number 3, and she had a major impact on Monday Night Raw. First, the champ came out to continue her stalking of Dominic Mysterio, which brought out Zelina Vega to challenge Liv for the title, which she accepted for the next episode of Raw. Cue Dominic Mysterio, who tried to feign that he isn't a fan of the gifts Liv is sending, but he's a fan of the text, while the crowd chanted sloppy seconds. Later, Liv would manipulate R-Truth into granting a tag title shot to the Judgment Day. The cherry on top of the Monday-Sunday was Liv giving the major assist to Finn Balor and JD McDonough to aid them on their way to claiming the tag titles in the main event. Liv Morgan is doing the best work of her career right now, and any naysayers or doubters about her ability as a main event player has to take a seat. The heat between her and Rhea Ripley when Mommy returns will be off the charts. Until that happens, I am enjoying Liv being the most evil woman in wrestling. The WWE Women's World Champ Liv Morgan lands on the list this weekend. The World of Stardom champ, the ever-dominant Micah, falls into the runner-up spot for the women, and she had a hell of a title defense against fellow stablemate and Artist of Stardom tag partner Xena at Stardom the Conversion for Xena's biggest opportunity. This was a match full of strikes and power offense. One spot had the women suplex each other on the exposed concrete because they are mad women. Xena would chop the holy shit out of the champ before Micah would return in kind. She would hit a make-a-no-tube driver for the win, and even though there was not much doubt about her win, it was still an extremely hard-hitting and fun match that I believe helped to bolster Xena as an individual talent in Stardom. The end of the match saw Micah pay respect to her stablemate. Micah is now approaching 200 days as champ, and I love everything about her. The World of Wonder Stardom champ Micah is your number 2 female wrestler of the week. We have a crazy 3-way tie at the top for Wrestler of the Week for the women, and that is for the combatants of the AEW Women's TBS/New Japan Strong Unification match between new double champ, the CEO Mercedes Moné, and her opponent, and CMLL's and New Japan Stephanie Vaquer. These women tore the house down, but even though Moné walked away with the gold, Vaquer left as the real story, performing at a super high level that made the Forbidden Door faithful literally turn on Moné and actively cheer for Vaquer. It was a big-time star-making performance, one that I absolutely knew she was capable of. So hearing all of the praises being sung Vaquer's way feels like vindication for me. But wait, there's more. Moné barely had time to celebrate as the goddamn DMD. Britt Baker made her big-time return to AEW, and it looks like we have a major match set up for Wrestle Dream between Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné. This match is indicative of what AEW can do right. Their bread and butter are the high-caliber matches, which we also got, but it also made a new big-time player in Vaquer who looked like a world beater, and we got a big, shocking return to set up another big title defense, with Baker making her intentions known. People rag on Moné, but she isn't paid to talk. She's paid to wrestle and be a larger-than-life persona, and she excels at that, and that's why she got the bag. And if her title reign continues to 1, be of high quality with the matches, and 2, raise the stock of her opponents, we may have one of the best title runs of the year. Sorry, not sorry. At the same time, goddamn, was Stephanie Vaquer a machine. This is AEW's version of finding a big-time female player from another promotion like Jordynne Grace, and the ball is in AEW's court. The fans at Forbidden Door booed Moné and even chanted, "Fuck the Celtics." AEW has the potential to run with Vaquer's new star power. For one, I sort of hope she gets a title rematch for the strong title as well, but I also hope she ends up in more high-profile matches and events because of her performance in this match. But at the end of the day, we got Britt Baker returning, confronting Mercedes Moné, and the three women, the returning Britt Baker, Stephanie Vacker, and the new double champ, TBS Women's Champ, and New Japan Strong Women's Champ Mercedes Moné, the CEO, are all your female wrestlers of the week for week 21. And now to the men and some honorable mentions. Neon would defeat Will Caven to retain his Rev Pro Undisputed British Cruiserweight title. Speaking of Neon, Guerrero Maya Jr. would defeat Neon at Cmll Lunas Arena Puebla to retain his Mexican National Middleweight title. Joe Alonzo took out Jack Cartwheel to retain his NWA World Junior Heavyweight title before shocking fans by announcing that he is leaving the promotion. Violence is Forever retained their GCW tag titles in a good match against Los Desperados at GCW Crime Wave. Mystico would win the Tornado Ciberneto International at Arena Mexica before being blindsided and attacked by Lionheart Chris Jericho. Tony D'Angelo retained the NXT Heritage Cup against Nathan Frazier in a very good matchup NXT. Drew McIntyre continues to rock out with his feud against CM Punk, and he has declared that he will enter Money in the Bank and win. Speaking of Money in the Bank, Chad Gable and LA Knight all qualified for the men's Money in the Bank on Raw and SmackDown respectively. We got Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn confronting each other, and we have the potential for a feud for the Intercontinental title. And man, I feel bad for Sami because if this happens, Braun will break him in half. And now the top 10 wrestlers of the week for the men. We kick things off with the four men who are involved in the NXT men's title feud. NXT champ Trick Williams, Javon Evans, All Ego Ethan Page, and Shawn Spears. On NXT this week, Ethan Page expressed his frustration with Javon Evans becoming number one contender to the NXT title, even though Page was never eliminated in the number one contenders battle royal the week before. Ava came out to actually agree with Page, which brought out Shawn Spears, who promised to pin Trick Williams later in the evening. This brought out Trick and a melee ensued. Later in the evening, Spears would pick up the non-title victory over Trick as a hooded Brooks Jensen interfered. It became pretty obvious that we were heading to some form of multi-man match and heatwave from the events of last week, but I like all involved. I am actually shocked and pleasantly surprised that Spears is involved in the main event, as I always felt he deserved some shine during his original NXT run as Ty Dillinger. But now we got a major fatal four-way in Toronto, and I am interested in how this may play out, as I do think there is a legit chance Trick may lose the title. But until then, let's just unleash chaos. The four men involved in the NXT main event scene heading into NXT Heatwave kick off the list for the men at number 10. We have the current and reigning Rev Pro Undisputed Heavyweight Champ Michael Oku, who defeated Anthony Ogogo in a ridiculous match that saw Oku bump like Shawn Michaels literally being in a pinball machine, with two spots where Ogogo yeeted Oku out of the ring, then nearly pounced Oku out of his boots. At the end though, Oku was able to persevere by countering the cradle by Ogogo with his own for the 3 count, and Oku smashed his 14th defense of the title. This was a great main event for a pretty good show in Rev Pro Raw deal, and now Oku has his biggest, literally, challenge yet, as he is set to defend the title against recent free agent Donovan Dijak at Rev Pro Live in Coventry in July, and that match has the potential to be lit. Until then, Oku will have to make sure he heals up, because the dude takes bumps that makes my body hurt. He is more than just insane selling, as Oku is extremely competent in the ring, and I have enjoyed his run as champ, and there is going to be a time when he will level up and appear in one of the major North American promotions. For now, I am loving Oku as champ, and he arrives on the list at number 9. Things have really heated up between the Bloodline 2.0, WWE Undisputed Champ Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens, who all find themselves in the number 8 spot. On Friday Night SmackDown, we saw the Bloodline open the show to very audible "We Want Roman" chants before things broke down on the entrance ramp as all got involved in a fight. Owens would hit a swanton on Tonga Loa through a table. Nick Aldis had to get security to separate them, but that didn't work too well, as the babyfaces were so pissed that they took them out as well. As Aldis got cops out, Cody hit Solo with a great line, calling Solo a seat filler for Roman Reigns at the head of the table. Later in the evening, the Bloodline came to the ring with Solo, making sure Tama, Loa, and Jacob Fatu all acknowledge him, which they did. When Solo approached a distraught Paul Heyman, he could not acknowledge Solo as his tribal chief, and let me say, Paul Heyman is just awesome. At this point, the expected happened, and the Bloodline 2.0 absolutely destroyed Heyman, complete with putting him through the announce desk. The heat was so major we got a "fuck you" Solo chant. Now we have a 6-man match between Cody, Owens, Orton, and Bloodline at Money in the Bank, and man, these guys keep cooking and cooking and cooking, and when Roman returns, man, everyone here is doing a bang-up job, from Cody as champ to Solo as the one who manipulated his way into a leadership position. I love what everyone is doing, and I just want more. The current Bloodline angle leading into Money in the Bank all land at number 8. Uncle Howdy or Bo Dallas? Who knows, but he comes in at number 7 this week for a pretty great segment, in which Uncle Howdy interviewed Bo about his intentions with the Wyatt Six. The VHS-like interview had Howdy asking Bo straight up if he was exploiting the death of his brother Bray Wyatt. Bo clapped back, stating that he always looked up to his brother and wanted to be like him, and they were on the verge of taking over WWE before Bray passed. This was a great emotional segment that sort of reminded me of the 3 Faces of Foley interview, except now it has a weird A24 slant to it. Also, it has added a new dimension to the Wyatt Six, as it seems like maybe we will get into each of the members and why they are part of the faction. It also takes a lot of the supernatural elements out and shows that this faction is definitely more on the psychological end. I am loving the rollout of the Wyatt Six. We got the big debut and a very strong follow-up. Let's just keep the train rolling. I am honestly okay if the faction doesn't wrestle for a little bit and just cause havoc, forcing someone else to challenge them. But Bo Dallas for me is shedding any doubt some may have had in his ability to portray a compelling character on WWE television, with having a presence enough to lead a faction. I think he's checking all the boxes, and I can't wait until the Wyatt Six decides to focus their energy on any specific wrestlers in their wake. These guys may end up as the most powerful faction in WWE, maybe even more than the Bloodline, but we will see. This week, Bo Dallas, aka Uncle Howdy, the leader of the Wyatt Six, lands at number 7 for the men. We got a shocker this week as Atlantis Jr. from CMLL finds himself on the list for the men at number 6, and that's for unseating Kyle Fletcher for the Ring of Honor television title at Arena Mexico. Fletcher made his CMLL debut against the World Historic Light Heavyweight Champion at the Vierners Espectacular show on June 28th, but came away empty-handed after a top rope Canadian destroyer and back-to-back frog splashes. Atlantis Jr. ended Fletcher's 196-day reign after he won the vacated title last year. It looks like AEW and Ring of Honor is going all in on the international stars and is doing what they can to cross-promote with Stardom, CMLL, and New Japan, and having a talent like Atlantis Jr. defending the television title on Ring of Honor TV will definitely help to give CMLL more exposure. Atlantis is praised for his consistency and his old school approach to lucha, and is a great talent to represent Ring of Honor if he is able to somehow ink some sort of deal. For now, Atlantis Jr. is your new Ring of Honor television champ, and he lands on the list at number 6. The new WWE Raw Tag Champs, the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough land on the list at number 5. The Judgment Day faced Awesome Truth for the titles in the main event of Raw that saw Liv Morgan of all people arrive and give an assist to Finn and JD to help them win the titles. This adjacent storyline of Liv worming her way into Judgment Day while also destroying Dominic's mind with her tactics is great and has added a new flair to the faction. This is Balor's 5th run as tag champ in WWE, while this is McDonough's 2nd title run, even though his first title was the defunct NXT UK Cruiserweight title. As much as I am bummed that Awesome Truth didn't really get an effective run as champs, it is clear that WWE believes there is more mileage with Judgment Day holding the gold. I see this boiling over as World Heavyweight Champ Damian Priest becomes more disillusioned with his faction as they continue to accept strays, and once the inevitable return of Rhea Ripley happens, shit will get real. But we got new tag champs, effectively making the Judgment Day more dangerous, and that lands Finn Balor and JD McDonough on the list at number 5 for the month. We have a new Elite TNT champ, and that is the scapegoat Jack Perry, who at AEW Forbidden Door climbed the ladder and bested Dante Martin, El Phantasmo, Mark Briscoe, Lio Rush, and Konosuke Takeshita in a wild and violent ladder match for the title vacated by Adam Copeland. The match saw Takeshita hit a sick brainbuster on Martin onto the side of a ladder, a blue thunder bomb through a table that killed Phantasmo, and just general insanity. The finale saw Briscoe get close to the title, only for Perry to destroy him with a chair before climbing to the top and gaining his 2nd title in AEW, but his first truly major singles title, and this feels like the next logical step in the Elite running all of AEW. Now all members have gold and truly have all the power. Of course, this is also going to make Perry even more insufferable as a heel, as he is going to go on an I told you so tour. But who will step up to be his first challenger, and what kind of champ will he be? If I was booking, I would basically make Perry the modern day honky tonk man and just have him cheat and DQ and count out his way to victories before being destroyed by a young rising star in the promotion. But that's just me being a dumb Mark fantasy booker. Whatever happens next, it can't be denied that Perry has some heat on him, and there is a lot the Elite can do as the annoying kids in power. Sort of like having young idiots as kings in council in House of the Dragon. That was a tangent. Jack Perry, the new AEW TNT champ, lands on the list at number 4. Mark Briscoe was able to stave off Kyle Fletcher to retain his Ring of Honor World Heavyweight title, and that lands him at number 3 for the men. Fletcher and Briscoe would beat the snot out of each other with dives, fisherman busters, and pile drivers. The finale saw Briscoe hit a sweet Death Valley driver, followed by the Froggy Bow and a disgusting lariat, which set up the Jay Driller to retain. This was Briscoe's first title defense since winning the title, and now that Fletcher is out of the way, the door is open for a new challenger for Briscoe. And Mark Briscoe is awesome. He always brings the intensity. Everything he does adds an extra layer of realism to it, so I am down for him continuing to be the scrapping, fighting, babyface champ. We also just saw him in the AEW TNT ladder match at Forbidden Door, where he was wilding out and just dishing out punishment. But Briscoe still has a pretty firm grip on the Ring of Honor title, and it will be interesting to see who will step up to be his next challenger. For now, Mark Briscoe, the reigning Ring of Honor heavyweight champ, lands on the list at number 3. We have a brand new IWGP heavyweight champion, and that is Tetsuya Naito, who at AEW Forbidden Door took down Jon Moxley with 2 Destinos after a sick brainbuster to score the pin and the victory, and this is Naito's 2nd time with the title. Now, let's get this out of the way. Was this the best match of the night? No. But the story was all about Naito doing everything he can to regain the title that he lost, and how Moxley was truly willing to do vile and violent things to stay champ, including bringing a chair to use that was taken away by the referee. We got to see the two slug it out and sell the exhaustion of facing each other. At the end of the day, we have a New Japan talent holding on to the main New Japan title. Now that Naito is IWGP champ again, we await his first challenger, which I am sure will be revealed very soon. For now, congratulations to Tetsuya Naito, the new IWGP Heavyweight Champ, who lands in the runner-up spot for the men. I believe it is only right to do this, as this match, like the event surrounding the TBS title match for the women, is an occurrence where all the combatants need their flowers. AEW World Heavyweight Champ Swerve Strickland and AEW International Champ Will Ospreay went out there in the main event of Forbidden Door and tried to kill each other for our entertainment, and had the best match of the night and one of the best matches of the year so far. Backbreakers, chops, styles clashes, and avalanche angle slams littered this high-paced match, and when it kicked into high gear with Swerve pile-driving Ospreay on the barricade, goddamn things went wild. We got a ref bump and Don Callis attempting to convince Will to use a screwdriver, which he chose not to. Same with Prince Nana, who threw the screwdriver away after Nana shoved Callis down. It took 2 house calls and a Cmll driver to finally put Ospreay away, and yeah. It feels like AEW is back on track with their main event scene, with Swerve standing proudly on top of the mountain. But talents like Ospreay, MJF, and even Bryan Danielson getting back into winning ways. Any of them could realistically challenge for the AEW title, and I believe no fan would bat an eye. But this was a match that firmly established Swerve as the guy in AEW right now, while also hailing Ospreay as a major piece of AEW's future. Ospreay isn't even done, as on Dynamite this coming week, he will face Daniel Garcia for the international title. But this match was a face melter, a definite match of the year candidate, and one that firmly planted a flag that, despite what some naysayers may think, AEW is still alive and kicking, especially with their in-ring output. Their promotion has delivered with their pay-per-views in 2024, and this match put a great stamp on a very strong show. I don't know what else to say. I loved this match, and it was so good and did such a good job of, just like the TBS match, elevating all talents, that I have to give props to all involved. Ospreay may have lost, but his time will come, and he looked amazing in defeat. But right now, it is Swerve's house, and we are just guests. Congratulations to the Week 21 male wrestlers of the week, AEW International Champ Will Ospreay, and still your AEW World Heavyweight Champ Swerve Strickland for their amazing main event match at Forbidden Door. And now the weekly standings for the men and the women. Coming up next, we are barreling towards Money in the Bank in Toronto, and I am ready. There is going to be so much happening this week. Let's just go. What did you think of my choices for Wrestler of the Week? Do you agree or disagree? Share your thoughts, leave your comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you can get notifications as well. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care.